ladies and gentlemen, to the latest and greatest episode of Game Rivals. I'm one of your hosts, Maximilian X, coming to you with the social media king himself, the Master Blaster, and the PlayStation aficionado, SeanTemplar. How's it going, Sean?
It's going good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Can't complain. Can't complain, but if you've seen how things are going globally when it comes to a certain pandemic that's going around, it's not so hot. But me personally, I'm good. I'm fine.
It's important these times to try to keep the positivity going.
Exactly. That's what we're here for.
Yes.
So, there's a lot to talk about because we are hurtling towards the eve of next gen.
Exactly.
I think the next episode after this one will actually be on the eve of next gen. So, right on the edge. So,
I think
I did the calculation. It has to be basically either the day before or on the day of.
So this one goes live on the 13th, and then
as you're listening to this, it will be the 13th, yeah. If you're listening during on the date release,
the next one is the 27th, and then after that it's the 10th. So we have like one episode left after this one, and then we get to the Xbox Series X launch.
Yeah. So the next one is on the eve, and the one after that is the actual launch.
Before we dive into all the game stuff, because there's a lot of stuff that's happened this week.
Yep.
I just want to take this moment to say a few words for our amazing Game Rivals community, because it has truly become a little Game Rivals community. So I think last week, a couple of weeks ago, or I think last week, I started. I'm not a social media guy. I mean, and I started checking out our on Instagram. You know, I thought, like, hey, we have an Instagram. Let's see what we can do with that. Because I'm gonna be honest, we didn't have a lot of followers. And then I just started to talk with some people and check out other people's stuff. And I don't know what happened, but within a few days, we crossed 100 followers. And as of this moment, we're at 155, which is just amazing. So I just want to take this moment to thank everybody, both our podcast listeners, our Instagram followers, our friends, or better said, our Instagram Game Rivals. I just want to thank everybody, and I think I speak for the both of us. Thank you all so much for the tremendous support, the amazing conversations, the fun comments. We've seen our podcast skyrocketing as well, so it's really cool to see that a lot of new people are coming into the Game Rivals family. I must honestly say it is intense at sometimes, because you're just talking to a lot of people and you just keep in mind, like, okay, I said this to this person and I have to say that to that person, because sometimes I have like multiple conversations going on. But and that I've said it a couple of times. What I love about the gaming community is that it just brings us together. No matter our race, our sex, our age, the color of our skin, no matter what, it just brings us together to share that love and passion for gaming. And I just love that. And we just want to thank everybody from the bottom of our hearts for the support. And here's to the future, in which we hopefully can do even more with the Game Rivals family. So thank you.
Yes. Also, thank you from me as well. Seeing the number of listens essentially explode over the past couple of weeks has been nothing but just brings nothing but joy to me and SeanTemplar as well. So thank you guys for giving us a listen, and please don't forget to share the love, share the podcast with your friends that you think will like it. Give us a like, give us a 5-star review, of course, on Apple Podcast or whatever podcasting program you use to listen to us, so that also the podcast will be bumped up as well. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram if you're already following us. Again, thank you for that. Thank you for the 150 plus and still growing. Don't forget to share that as well. We are going to do more stuff in the future on our YouTube channel as well. The link is in the description of the podcast, or if you're on our Instagram, there's a neat little link to wherever you can follow us on the web. So hit that up and follow us there. We also have a Discord. If you want to join us there for some chats, you can join us there. The link is in the description of this episode.
I was thinking maybe we should turn our Discord into an Among Us Discord.
We can have a section for Among Us. Sure, yeah.
I think
we can have like different segments.
Yeah.
We can have different segments for different rivals.
We'll go into Among Us in a later bit, but this almost felt like an Oscar acceptance speech. So I'm going to thank my mom and my dad and my producer.
The only difference is no one is playing you off right now. There's no music increasing slowly.
With
play off, it's like, I want to, and then suddenly there's a hook that just rips you off, like in those Looney Tunes cartoons.
Yeah,
off the stage.
And without that, and on that note, let's switch over to the news.
Yeah. So it's been crazy.
It's crazy.
I don't know if anybody's been able to keep up with anything, because even we, the game rivals, have been having this. Like I said in the previous episode, it is the autumn of gaming, which means there's a lot of gaming news coming out. We are hurtling towards next gen. It's been crazy. So remember a couple of months ago, right on the cusp of most countries' lockdown, Microsoft had a bunch of people over, specifically people from Digital Foundry and
Austin Evans and a couple of other people.
Yeah, to actually see the Xbox Series X, take it apart and put it back together, and actually see the components.
That was really cool, by the way, how they did that.
That was really cool, because they used a special model
and they
that had the actual parts, but they used magnets, so they didn't have to screw things together.
Yeah.
This time, PlayStation took it upon themselves to do a teardown of the PlayStation 5. Yep. One of the engineers of the PlayStation 5, sorry, I don't have the name of the guy right now. They posted a video on their PlayStation blog and also, of course, on their YouTube channel, where they literally take apart a PlayStation 5. And first things first, we already knew that it was going to be huge, but this time we actually had a proper unit sitting next to someone taking it apart, and not just this side camera thing that they did with Japanese press like 2 weeks ago. So yeah, the unit is huge, but there's also a reason for that.
I'm really
because
happy
the cooling
for the
is
reason.
huge.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see why. I'm like, now that I understand, it's something we've suspected, and it's really cool. It's cool to see.
I mean, that's the only reason why you would do that, right?
Yeah. I mean, they've completely disassembled it, and if you look at it, there's like this really tiny motherboard in it that has all the components. So I'd almost say that like 20% is actual hardware, and maybe 80% is pure cooling. Mm-hmm. And it has this massive heatsink. I think if you were to throw it at somebody's head, that person would just die. It's just so massive. So,
dang, dude.
Yeah, it's like
why do you keep throwing stuff at people?
No, but like it's the same with like the Xbox power brick, you know, that if you drop that on somebody's head, that person is dead as well.
Oh no.
Oh, you never made
that
those
thing
jokes?
Is a monolith though.
Yeah.
I've heard the monolith joke many times, but not to throw it at someone's head.
If somebody breaks into your house, you know what to grab, an Xbox power brick.
If you have one lying around, and if you're strong enough to lift it, because it's heavy.
But there's this massive heatsink into it, and
they really invested a lot in trying to keep the PlayStation 5 cool. They're using liquid metal, to as a heat conductor to conduct the heat from the system on a chip, the SoC, to the heatsink, which they said they've engineered in a way that is as effective as a vapor chamber, then I wondered, why bring up the vapor chamber? And if you were going to do that anyways, why not just use a vapor chamber? Like, what is the downside of the vapor chamber? Which they figured that, no, that's not a good idea for us to do. Let's do it this way instead. Because if you look at it, it seems like they really invested their time in getting that heatsink right.
Yeah.
to that size, that was an acceptable enough size for them to use. Because I think that if they used a vapor chamber, it would be smaller. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why Microsoft is using the vapor chamber again with the Series X.
Yeah, but like I think in this case, I think is a two-step approach. I mean, you have the vapor chamber that adds a lot of cooling, and then using liquid metal over traditional thermal paste also adds like an extra layer on top of that. So it's, I think, a two-part approach instead of saying we'll just put in this massive vapor chamber kind of solution and we'll just put thermal paste into it, because liquid metal is the top of the line solution for cooling. The only downside to liquid metal is it can cause corrosion over time. So when I saw liquid,
I did not know.
Yeah, so like if I have seen instances in which there were people that were taking devices that are known to get really hot and then apply liquid metal to it, and then, for example, after a while or after a year or whatever, check the impact of it. It's a pretty aggressive material. It works really, really well. But there is some form of failure in it. And I mean, like, the last thing you want is your CPU to corrode and that you have a quality program on your hands as a company because you chose a cooling solution that just eats away at the console. I mean, they said they put 2 years of development into it. So I think they have minimized that risk, but it is still something that will only time will tell. But I think with the solution they've chosen.
But do we know of like Xbox One X users that have the corrosion problem? Because that one also uses a vapor chamber.
And so it's like two things. So you have the vapor chamber, which is basically the physical cooling solution. So it's like the radiators and the fins. And then the liquid metal is nothing more than the thermal paste. So the layer that's on top of the on the CPU. Yeah. Generally, the vapor chamber, it works with basically water in it also, and it has a copper exterior that interacts with the CPU. So it should practically cause less degradation because it's copper, because it's a bit more resistant. And I could see that Sony has also kind of insulated the liquid metal. You saw this spongy material around it. So yeah. I think they have it sorted pretty out, but I was surprised to see, because I remember maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago reading a rumor that Sony was going to do liquid metal. I thought, like, wow, that would be really nice if they pulled it off. But I mean, there's a reason why in the PC gaming scene liquid metal isn't used a lot.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah. So while they were doing that, for whatever reason, they changed a bunch of stuff. Yep. Specifically the trophies.
Yep.
And honestly, I think they changed it for the better, because they've restructured how the levels work and what it means to get a trophy and what the worth is of each trophy. Now, obviously, they did a general teardown that's also on PlayStation blog. So if you want to find out about how that works, or why you suddenly have a big number where you used to have a small number next to your name on your PlayStation account, that's why. I think the designs that they also showed in the blog is, I think, the new designs for the trophies, which I'm not opposed. They look nice,
for the
but
trophy
again,
levels.
Yeah, but I'm not, like I've said it before on the podcast, I am not an achievement hunter or a trophy hoarder. If I get an achievement or a trophy, cool, sure, whatever. But for me, it's all about the gameplay and the games. If the game's great, it's great. If it's not great, then it's not great. I know that there are people out there that specifically play crappy games because the achievements in there are very easy to get. Or the trophies are easy to get. Or they play kids games because the trophies are easy to get.
I can understand that.
But that also means that, I don't know, what's a kid's game these days?
Lego Star Wars, maybe?
Yeah, like Lego Star Wars. No, actually, those tend to have like really difficult achievements.
Really?
Yeah, but it's difficult in the sense that you have to do a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of fetch questy kind of stuff tied to those achievements and trophies. I've heard. Like, if you check out, like, for example, The Completionist, he plays those kind of games. He it's in his name. He completes them, so that also means getting all the trophies platinum. So, but from his experiences that I've seen, they tend to not really be worth getting the platinums on, which is saying a lot. So
in the PS3 era, I used to do it a lot. I have, I think, 9 platinums. The last one I got was for Spider-Man on PS4.
I have 0.
Yeah, I mean, like,
and I'm gonna be honest. Normally, that doesn't faze me until I heard from Robin, who was one of our special guests, that his girlfriend got a platinum on Last of Us Part 2, like hardcore.
His girlfriend has a platinum for Skyrim.
Yeah. So at that point, you're like,
or his wife better put because they're married now.
Ah, right.
She's this super dedicated trophy hunter. It's really cool to see.
And that just made me sad because I was like, oh wow, I feel kind of like trash now. Like, I can't even get a single platinum.
But like, for example, the Spider-Man platinum is really easy to get because you basically just have to do everything on the map.
Yeah. So I'm gonna talk about that later, Spider-Man. But so trophies got overhauled while they were also showing off the teardown. So it got snowed under because it took me 2 days and checking my email to see that they sent something about, oh, by the way, trophies are being overhauled as we speak, and by that time it already had happened.
Yeah.
So I was talking to you like, hey, they like overhauled the trophies. You're like, yeah, what happened the day that the PS5 teardown happened? Like, oh, that was weird.
Yeah, it was because when you went to the PlayStation blog, you saw the teardown video on top, and then underneath that you saw a trophy thing, and I was like, let me check out the trophy thing first.
They literally buried it themselves.
I don't know if they shared it on the same day or not, but I think they did because I saw.
It has to. If it was beneath it, it must have been shared on.
Oh no, they shared it 2 days before. Oh.
No way! Seriously?
But nobody saw it. I think.
I don't. Hey, I'm gonna be honest. I think
didn't
most
hear
people don't care about
trophies. Yeah,
because nobody's brought it up. I haven't heard hide nor hair from like the normal sources.
Yeah,
nobody's brought it up. Maybe there was an article somewhere, but it got buried.
I didn't see anyone talk about it. So
yeah, and somehow I did find out that Doctor Strange is gonna be in the next Spider-Man movie. So
yeah, I did see that one. By the way,
that ought to be cool.
Sony's been a lot in the news this week because they also published their strategy around backwards compatibility, and it was yesterday, I think.
Good news, backwards compatibility fans. 99% of the games will run on PlayStation 5, which is a far cry from the earlier year that they said like the top 100s. Like,
and
that is not a lot of dedication.
There is a list of games that are not supported, and you can see that on the PlayStation.
I think it's
website.
Like 10 games.
Yeah, and if you look at it, there's games on it where you actually think like, do I really want to play this back? It's not. It's maybe like it's not a AAA game or anything.
I don't think there. I mean, I checked the list. I mean, I can check it again, but yeah, there wasn't anything that stood out to me like, oh, it's a shame that that's not on there. But yeah not really.
Yeah, Sony also, you can find all this information on the PlayStation blog. Sony also went into the article talking about Game Boost, which is, I think, something that you see on the Xbox and that the PS4 Pro also has. So there have been some developers that already come out and said what Game Boost will allow. So, for example, in Ghost of Tsushima, you will be able to use Game Boost to get up to 60 FPS, and I think it's in 4K. So that's actually really nice.
If that's true, man, that's next step. That's next. That's next league.
That game is already gorgeous on the PS4 Pro. And I mean, if you have it in true 4K 60 FPS, I mean, that's going to be a buttery smooth experience. Naughty Dog has said that all of the games they have brought out this generation, so both the remasters and the new games, are all playable through backwards compatibility.
Are they going to use... Do those
they
games
mention
even...
that.
Like, with the exception of maybe the Nathan Drake collection and Uncharted 4, does The Last of Us need Game Boost? Because I don't think 60 frames per second is going to add anything to that game.
Yeah, so
because it's most like, if you really think about it, like The Last of Us games is mostly wandering around.
Yeah, so and I've been thinking about this for a while now, but one of the big selling points of next gen is that it's going to be 4K up to 120 frames. But and then I saw like games coming out or developers coming out and saying our game will have an optional 60 FPS mode, and I thought like, but why would you have an optional 60 FPS mode if the whole selling point of next gen is 60 FPS or higher? And I thought, but wait, if they want the game to have this cinematic look and feel, then I completely understand why they're giving it you as an option. I mean, a game such as The Last of Us, who is actually pretty cinematic, you wouldn't want that game to run at 60 FPS because it might actually take you out of the experience because it's too buttery smooth for your eyes. But I can imagine that a racing game or a game like Spider-Man where you're swinging through the city, I
60
would,
frames would be better.
yeah, I mean, that would be definitely suitable. So that I thought, yeah, okay, now it makes sense that it's optional.
So we don't have a release date for what's the word I'm looking for? Gran Turismo 7, right?
Nope.
If I know the lead, the director of that game, I know that he's kind of a perfectionist, especially when it comes to the game to Gran Turismo. If that game does not have the option to run at 120 frames per second, I will be shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that 60 frames is the bare minimum that he wants to set, and then he's going to try and push the team to get it to 120 frames per second at 4K, which maybe he won't go for 4K. Maybe they'll use some kind of DLSS solution to output in 4K, but I would be surprised if that game does not come out and it does not support 120
Yeah,
frames,
I mean,
like, as an option.
Dirt 5 is going to support 120 on release, so on next gen consoles.
All right, there you go. That means that there's a reason for him to even push even harder.
The funny thing is that I read an article a while back that normally for them to model a car takes 6 months, and they've been able to cut that time down to 3 months, which is still long, but
that's so long.
But that's because they're just so. I don't know if they use what is it called, photogrammetry, so that new technique in which they use cameras to capture an object. So I don't know.
Photogeometry.
Photogeometry. Yeah. So I don't know if they're using that or not to scan cars, because, for example, a popular sim racing game called Assetto Corsa Competizione. That game uses they scan all the tracks they have in the game are all laser scanned. So they're at the physical track, and they use this complex array in which they scan the whole track inch by inch, and then they put it in the game that way. So I would almost say, like, okay, for a racing game as a Gran Turismo, you would use photogeometry because it just speeds up the whole process. But 3 months for a car is still a lot of time.
That's still a lot. Yeesh, no wonder.
And they're outsourcing it as well.
It takes so long.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll already be happy if Gran Turismo comes out in the launch window, because I think that a lot of the games are going to come out. Sony and Microsoft have been really hush around what's going to come out after the launch week, or
because the launch window, remember, is the first 3 months of the system.
Yeah.
So
but we know that Ratchet and Clank
essentially have plenty of time in quotes, but 3 months is very quick.
Yeah, I mean, if it comes out in November, before you know it, during Christmas, if they are able to in any way generate some supply, a lot of Xboxes and PlayStations will end up on the Christmas trees. But I mean, like, people like us, if I get one on day one, because this is my strategy, I've pre-ordered it at one shop. If I get it there, I'll get it. If I don't get it there, I might try another shop. But if I just don't get it on launch day, I've changed my mind. I'm like, okay, I'm going all in on Cyberpunk. Then I'll just isolate myself because I've taken some time off. I'll just go all in on Cyberpunk, waiting for that call to say, hey, we got your PS5, come on and pick it up. But what I'm basically doing right now is I'm going to skip out on Valhalla. I'm going to skip out on Legion. I'm all going to buy them on PS5. But if I get my PS5 next year, that will automatically mean that I won't be able to play these games until next year.
That's a choice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fair choice. I mean, I'm not getting a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X anytime soon because I don't tend to jump on the bandwagon with those systems right away. I tend to wait until more interesting games for me come out. I mean, if they were to say, like, oh, the next Monster Hunter was going to come out, I'd be like, okay, it's time to, like,
Think about it.
Follow the ramen diet, buy a whole bunch of cheap cup noodles, and just squirrel away my money and buy it. But no, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this launch goes, how the games are going to be. And and we've talked about it before, and I know that you're not a fan of it, but this is one of the reasons why people tend to, at least at the beginning of a console generation, tend to really gravitate towards having backwards compatibility because because I've seen a lot of people say, well, I have a lot of backlog catalog games, so I'm not getting the system right now. But if you can play it on the new system while you're waiting for all the interesting games to come out, you can still play your backlog on the new system, and then you don't have to worry about it. But at the same time, you don't have to worry about it if there's a scarcity. So there's that interesting dynamic going on there.
At one point, I do have the feeling that there is this machine that's being fed around supply constraints, because I mean, Sony has said we're going to make sure that there's more supply on day one than we had with the PS4. And
that kind of doesn't say a lot if you think about it, because if they have enough on day one, what happens to day 2 and day 3 and so on?
Yeah, but like I think they're not counting on any last minute buyers. I think they're focused on, okay, we need to make sure that we fulfill all adopters. We need to fulfill all pre-orders. And I think that people are feeding that scarcity machine, and where they're saying like, oh, but it's I mean, they're creating this fear that, oh, people are not going, and it almost feels like you're either going to get a console day one, and if you don't get it on day one, the next opportunity you'll get one is next year. Whereas I don't think that's going to happen. I think there will be a steady supply of consoles coming in. It will take a little bit of time. I mean, that's why I decided to go in on Cyberpunk to kill the time. But it almost feels like maybe. but like it feels like it's, if you miss the boat and you're left on the island, and then the next time the boat comes around is next year, and that's your chance to get off the island. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's going to be the way. I think there's going to be a lot of boats coming around. We just have to wait for the next one, and that's not next year. I mean, like even in the group that we're in, Gizmo is saying, oh, I pre-ordered my PS5 months ago, and they told me I'm in wave 2, which is going to be next year. And I thought like, yeah, but maybe the retailer that you pre-ordered your console is, maybe because they're not a big player, maybe the manufacturers are just allocating more supply to a bigger player, such as a media market, not market, as you hate it, or I don't know, like a web shop, you know? And this is global. I mean, yeah. So
there was an article about allocation of, or not allocation, but like pre-orders, and the most pre-orders were coming from the US for the PlayStation 5, which was, I think, about made up for 72 or 74% of the pre-orders.
Yeah, so it's 72%. Like they did there was this company that did like a survey among 500 people. 72% said they'll buy a PlayStation, and it's going to be a disc edition. Yeah. I mean, I get why they would do it in the US due to internet banned caps and stuff like that. So that's why I kind of went for the digital editions. Or like, you know, a lot of people will probably go for the disc edition, because when I went to pre-order mine, I asked the guys like, hey, what, can you give me some insight on your pre-orders? And he said like, yeah, we have a lot of pre-orders for the disc edition, and for the digital edition it's a lot less. But yeah, there are also stories floating around that Sony is going to churn out more disc editions than digital editions, because it's not interesting for the retailer. The retailer just sells the box, and they lose that customer unless the customer comes back to buy PlayStation cards. But I don't know if that's actually a thing.
Yeah, that's true. Which reminds me of some weird breaking news. Breaking news right now.
Do you want to do the sound?
I'll put it in post.
Okay.
So let me just hit that thing and put it in here. Yeah, post. Anyway, so the thing is, so remember in the US you have this retailer called GameStop.
I know, GameStop. It's also in some European countries.
Yeah, I know that Germany has them as well.
Yeah.
And well, the thing is, people are always saying that, oh, GameStop, you know, because they've been shutting down a lot of stores lately, not just because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But like for the past couple of years, they've been losing money and customers. And now they have partnered with Microsoft,
Yeah.
of all people, to help them not only help them with how they do their infrastructure in the stores and online and stuff like that. They'll be using Microsoft's Azure servers to
Nice.
do some uptakes. The stores are getting services that the employees will use to do orders and stuff on them, and and allocations that the allocation system will be supported through Microsoft servers. They're also, outside of the Microsoft Store, going to be giving people the opportunity to get the all access Xbox plan,
Oh, that's nice.
which is apparently like an exclusive thing
Mm-hmm.
between them and GameStop's, which means that if you want to get that amazing deal, and the all access is a pretty amazing deal,
Yeah, that's a good deal.
to pick up either a Xbox Series S for $25 a month or an Xbox Series X for $35 a month, and in total save $20 on the whole thing, including getting Xbox Live, Game Pass, Ultimate, and of course the console itself to play it on. That's a really good deal.
And if you have an Android device, you can also automatically enroll into xCloud with your next gen console, so you can even play those games on the go.
Exactly. So them doing that partnership with Microsoft basically means that GameStop gets to live for another couple of years at least.
I hope so for them, because they were there were a lot of rumors they were on the verge of bankruptcy.
Oh yeah, they tried to sell it a bunch of times in the past. Yeah. Nobody wanted to pick it up.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. So that was a little bit of a breaking news that I just found out about today as we're recording this. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And talk about it because we're going into the Xbox stuff anyways.
Yeah, I mean,
because a lot of reviewers, IGN, influencers, whatchamacallits, they've been getting hands-on time with the Xbox Series X. Not with next-gen games, unfortunately. We'll have to wait a little bit longer for that, but they were able to test out the backwards compatibility and, of course, the quick resume functionality. They also got a terabyte Seagate card, which honestly, seeing it in person in someone's hands looks like those old school memory cards that you used to put in your consoles. Remember those, kids?
Oh my god.
Back when you had to buy a memory card, it's back and more expensive than ever.
Yeah.
Woo!
I remember that.
So, at least from what we've seen, from the impressions, the general consensus is this. Load times, even on backwards compatibility games, specifically, like Xbox 360, Xbox One games, fast.
Like, blazing fast.
Really fast.
What I don't understand is that I have an SSD in my PS4 Pro, and it doesn't feel... I don't get the idea that it's as fast as what I saw with the Series X. So I'm wondering what kind of magic the Series X is pulling off, because in some cases it just
Digital
shaves off.
Foundry had an answer to that, by the way.
Oh, okay.
They did a thing on that. If you really want to see like how that works, people, check out Digital Foundry. They have some awesome videos up. They also have a video up on how ray tracing works, specifically for next-gen gaming on next-gen consoles. And they used Spider-Man, the Spider-Man Remastered, as an example for that. So that's definitely worth a check out if you also want to understand how ray tracing works and why it works the way it does. But they were talking about the backwards compatibility of the Xbox Series X, and basically why it's so fast with those NVMe SSDs is that the CUDA cores, or sorry, not the CUDA, the Jaguar cores in the previous generation or the current generation consoles are probably the bottleneck, because it being able to read that fast seems to be partially due to not just the NVMe, but also due to the processor itself, so the CPU.
It just it processes the data faster.
Exactly. So it is able to process it faster, and that's probably the reason, because they also tested it with an NVMe connected to USB 3.0 and the fastest bus possible on an Xbox Series, an Xbox One X, and it was still faster on the Series X. Even though they were using the exact same thing, they were using an NVMe in a heatsink casing that they could hook up to USB. I think it was from Asus or something. And yeah, the in some instances the difference was maybe a few seconds, but in other instances it took maybe 10 seconds or more. So there's a difference, and the difference is the bottleneck of the old Jaguar core CPUs.
So then you would almost say that on the PS5 that it will be even better because it has a faster SSD and also has a custom SSD controller. Because I saw in some games, such as in Red Dead Redemption 2 and in other big games, in some cases it just shaves off minimum of 30 seconds to like maybe a minute, even more in some cases. That I thought like, whoa, this is worlds apart. This is just insanity.
Yeah, so if you want to get better into detail, again, Digital Foundry has that up. It's really great. They also just hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube,
I saw that,
so that's also cool.
They did a stream for that, really cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's because everybody's been talking about the SSD. The SSD, of course, are a big component in this, but nobody realizes what a CPU does. I feel like because of this, people have forgotten what a CPU does and what a CPU is supposed to do. Yeah. Because back in the day, especially in the 90s, we used to say the CPU is the brains of the operations. And that has not changed. I mean, the emphasis on graphics and speed and write speed and hard drives and whatnot has come to the forefront. But the thing that always ties them together from the 90s till today and beyond will always be the CPU. And the better, the more efficient CPU you have, the more efficient computer or console you'll get.
I wonder what this generation will do, because it's just something that popped into my mind, but I really wonder what this generation will do to PC gaming. Because even though PC gaming is still master race and whatnot, I think that, I don't know what to say. I mean, I have a game PC, but I don't use it as much. I use it for specific games. But like, I wonder, because you're hearing about all these. An SSD is nothing new. I mean, it's been available for PCs for years, but it sounds like that they're using it in so many new ways, or they found new ways to squeeze out a lot of those SSDs. Because I have an NVMe SSD in my PC, and I don't have the feeling that I'm getting the fast load times as being shown in those videos. Yes, it's fast load times, but I'm not getting it. It's not wowing me. And I feel that a lot of things in the console space it will have some impact on PC gaming. I just wonder what or how.
Well, considering that PCs have been using the SSDs and now NVMEs as well, basically from the get-go whenever they're available, I don't think it's going to change that much. I think the thing that's going to change much when it comes to game development is, especially with the new generation of graphics card that comes out that also have the hardware ray tracing in them, how they essentially allocate ray tracing resources on PC versus on consoles. Yeah. Because on PC, they have the luxury of basically having the player choose the settings that are best for their graphics card.
I always turn it
on. Whereas with consoles, they can give you the options, but they're fixed options. You can't play with the options. You can't play with the settings on that one.
Maybe
at least
not as I don't know.
Maybe not to the extent as PC.
Yeah, like for example, I have games. I have a ray tracing. I have an RTX video card, so I have ray tracing, but I turn it off in all games because it's just
the 2070.
Yeah, I have the 2070 Super, but I just turn it off because it impacts performance in such a big way that it's just not worth it. I mean, Battlefield
Yeah.
5 has support. It's one of the first games. It just impacted performance in such a way that I just didn't like it. And I
Mm.
am thinking about upgrading to a 3080, but even then, I don't think I'm going to use ray tracing. And I feel that the one thing that consoles will do for PC gaming is that it will make ray tracing a thing, because now on PC you see that the adoption rate for it is pretty low, and it's been available for almost 2 years now, ray tracing,
Well, I
and
mean,
nobody's
ray
using it.
tracing has been available software-wise, right? Because they're not doing it; they're using like DLSS to do it
Oh, the NVIDIA cards support hardware-based ray tracing. They have,
on the
besides,
27.
yeah, because they have CUDA cores and they have ray tracing cores, so there's like made a different hardware thingy for that. So there are games that support it. It's available from a hardware point of view. It's just like it's not being used a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
Nvidia's trying to get as much people on board, but if you look at all the games that came out, there's not a lot of games that have it. So I think that the consoles will push ray tracing and make it a bigger thing on PC. It's just the question of how and what. I mean, AMD is coming out with a GPU at the end of the month that will also support hardware-based ray tracing. So, there's more options available to customers, because if you want ray tracing now, it's a premium you have to pay.
Yeah. True. True. Yeah. So outside of that, I think we can honestly say that I'm ready for next gen. I'm more ready to see the reviews for the systems and the games, just to see how the games look, how people respond to the systems. We still haven't seen the UI for the PlayStation 5.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, right. Almost forgot one thing about the one big thing that we learned from the impressions.
I was about to say
Um,
it, but I'll let you do the honors.
so remember how those consoles come with what, terabyte or 825 each, and if you're an avid listener, and if you listen to previous episodes earlier this year where I said, yeah, the 1 terabyte and especially the 825 in the PlayStation 5 is really not a lot, of space. Well, they kind of proved me right, because the outlets were showing off the actual hardware space available to you on the Xbox One X. Again, this is a preview model, so the space might be a little bit bigger, but it showed off like 820 gigs available
Something
on a
like that.
1 terabyte hard drive.
Yep.
That's insane. Even if you're saying that part of it is for the OS and part of it is so that you can use quick resume, so that they can use the NVMe as RAM, as virtual RAM, that's insane.
Yeah, I mean, if you plug in the 1 terabyte SSD Seagate drive, it takes a little bit less, so you get
Yeah.
900 gigs that you can use, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still, and there are rumors floating around that the PlayStation 5 will have 665
Well,
gigabytes.
people have been doing the math,
Yeah.
by using the Xbox Series as a kind of a baseline. And yeah, like if you do the math, you would end up being at somewhere around 600 gigs, which is maybe 2.5 Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Yeah, but
Seriously,
I
that
think
game
we
is
have to.
ridiculous right now.
I think we have to keep in mind that, and I don't know. I think the Xbox will use the same thing, but on the PlayStation, they're using different compression techniques, newer compression techniques called Kraken, or a newer variation of Kraken, which has a far bigger efficiency rate in compressing games. Because they gave us an example. They said like where Call of Duty is 200 gigs now on PS4, it might actually turn out to be 100 gigs on PS5 because of the compression, and also because I think both consoles will let you download or delete parts of the game that you're not using. So if you only play multiplayer in Call of Duty, you can just uninstall the single player and just have the multiplayer on your drive. And to be honest, I played the single player, finished it, loved it, but I've never touched it after that. So if I can just remove that and save space, why not? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that will be. I think that will save a lot of space in games.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope that works. But as of right now, if you haven't the 500, I shudder to think how much space you actually have on the 512 Xbox Series X. If you are if you were thinking of getting an Xbox Series X, one, good on you because it's way cheaper. The other, maybe also put some money aside for one of those Seagate hard drive expansion cards, because yeah, the 512 is not gonna cut it at all, not even a little bit. And yes, Microsoft has given an example of, if you're going to do backwards compatibility games, you can transfer them to and from an external hard drive, and that's fine. But that just reminds me of what Iwata-san used to say when the Wii came out, calling the Wii storage a fridge, and then taking off stuff and then putting them back in the fridge. Yeah, people didn't like it back in 2006, and I'm pretty sure people still don't like that analogy now. So it's kind of weird that they're promoting it in that kind of way, like putting it away and then putting it back when you want to. And the transfer speeds, if you're using an SSD, is fine. It takes a few minutes, but the fact that you have to do that is crazy at all.
Yeah.
So and that's again for the backwards compatibility games, you can at least play them on an external hard drive. But if you're talking about a PlayStation 5 game or an Xbox Series game, you have to transfer it to the internal NVMe.
Yep.
Otherwise, it ain't working.
The only thing I hope with this generation, because we're seeing speed gains and improvements all across the board, the only thing I really hope Sony is going to change and going to have a look at is their infrastructure. Because if you, for example, now if you have to download an update to a game or download a game in general, it takes so long on the PlayStation. I hear that it's really smooth on the Xbox, but for example, and I don't know if people know this, and if they didn't know, now you know, but if you, for example, are going to download a game or an update on your PlayStation 4, if you restart the PlayStation, it kind of resets all the connections and it downloads everything a lot faster. I was downloading a game the other day and it said 4 hours. And I thought, like, no, this is not going to take 4 hours. And I just restarted it, my PlayStation, and it said, oh, no, it's going to take 90 minutes. I'm like, yeah, really? The fact that I have to do this every time? I mean, I hope they fix that.
I know, man. I know. Yeah, they better fix that because that's stupid.
A really quick thing on PS5, by the way, is that what we learned with the teardown is that those side panels are user removable. So that ties into maybe the customization that has been speculated about, that Sony will just bring out, or maybe third parties will bring out those side panels in all sorts of colors and designs.
They can license it out and do that. Yeah,
I mean, I would love to see a Cyberpunk
PlayStation 5,
definitely, but like maybe a Cyberpunk or a
I'm
God
pretty
of
sure
War.
that CD Projekt Red is already working on that.
Yeah,
if they haven't done it already, I'm sure that it is there.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, and I'm sure that next year with God of War Ragnarok, they'll probably have some special plates for that as well.
A blue PlayStation or something like that.
Yeah. So we're almost through the news, but there are a few little things that I also wanted to pick up on. So apparently the Nintendo Switch Pro, in quotes, got leaked on MediaMarkt's website. I don't know which MediaMarkt specifically. I think it was like Poland or something. I'm pretty sure it's been taken down by now. But there have been rumors floating around about a next-gen Switch. I don't think whatever the next Switch is going to be, it's not going to be like a Pro thing. It's going to be a next generation. Nintendo has already said that they're working on a next generation system.
Probably come out.
I don't think it's going to come out anytime soon, considering the time frame, because the way it worked with the Switch was they announced that they were working on the Switch 2 years before it got even like an official reveal, let alone release. Yeah, because it got announced somewhere early in 2015. And the reveal of it was October 2016, and the system came out in March 2017.
Whoa! I thought, like, they'll probably do it next year.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are assuming that it's coming. If it's going to come out, it's going to come out next fiscal year. So that means after March 2021. People were also speculating that Monster Hunter Rise because it looks so good that it was running on a next gen Switch. So during interviews, people were asking them like, "Is this running on a current gen Switch or is it running on something else?" No, this is running on Switch hardware. As of right now, we don't know what Nintendo is working on in terms of hardware, but considering that we know that Capcom partnered with Nintendo, they actually went to Capcom to get some advice on what they should put into the Switch in terms of hardware, what they were asking for. The reason why the Switch has way more RAM than it would have had is partially because of them. So them putting out a game that looks this good finally using a very specific version of the RE engine, that's the reason why. So if they're partnering again on what to put into the next Switch, or if they're doing like a mid-gen refresh, maybe something like that might come out next year. But honestly, it's all rumors right now because I'm not gonna lie, they do have to bring out something that will allow them to port next gen games a bit easier to the Switch, and having a next generation chip in there would be nice, and some extra RAM would also be nice because maybe then we can finally get themes, huh?
Yay.
Seriously, that thing has been out for 4 years. You can't even have themes or like subfolders for our games. If you look at my game list on my Switch, it's ridiculously huge. You can't even order it or anything. Yeesh. So yeah, here's to that. In other news, and also something that I'm going to talk about in what we've been playing, Pikmin 3 Deluxe is coming out next. As you're listening to this, it'll be coming out this Friday, the October 16th. Oh, sorry, not October 16th. Why do I keep thinking that? It's coming out October 30th. But the demo for Pikmin 3 Deluxe is out, and a save file from that demo transfers to the full game. I've played it. I'll be talking about it in what we've been playing. Game looks as good as it's ever been. It now has co-op right from the get-go, which is great because the previous version did not have that. We also got more to see from Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. We got some gameplay from Zelda and Urbosa, who a lot of people really are into because she's a very pretty and very strong Garuda woman. So yeah, plus she snaps her fingers and lightning strikes. So what's not to love? There's a lot of cool gameplay footage from not only TGS but also the Nintendo Treehouse had a gameplay feature also on Pikmin 3 Deluxe. So if you want to check those out, it's on the Nintendo of America channel on YouTube. And lastly, the one thing that I want to talk about. So remember how Amazon is bringing out their own streaming service, Luna?
And
they also have their own studios that they bought.
Yeah.
Well, one of those studios made a game, if you may or may not have heard of it, called Crucible, which came out and was so poorly received that they had to take it back into closed beta for further improvements. And now it's canceled.
Hey.
That is the saddest thing. Here's the thing. You know what? At least it didn't turn into Anthem, which a lot of people are saying about Marvel's Avengers, that it's this year's Anthem.
Oh, I don't know so.
But yeah, like both games are live games. They tend to get better with time. I mean, if you look at like the Division 2, that one only got better with time. So the only difference is the Division 2 was actually good and got better. Whereas Anthem was not good and is now in some weird limbo. So Amazon just was like, no, we're going to pull the plug on this. It's too much to essentially get it done, to get it into working order, which is really disappointing. Well, it's disappointing. I wouldn't say it's really disappointing because I haven't had a chance to play it yet. But it's really disappointing for the developers because they've put so much time and effort into this game, only to have it canceled in such a way. It's just, I feel for the developers in this case.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just really sad in that regard. I hope that their next project goes a bit better. Amazon, Jeff Bezos, if you're listening to this, I seriously doubt it because you're a billionaire. Treat your people better. Like, give them the resources that they need. Like, just like, because they haven't, like, I don't know what Amazon Games has put out that people are talking about. I mean, the only reason why we found out about Crucible is because Crucible came out with little to no fanfare out of open beta, and then they got a lot of feedback that it wasn't good, so they had to go back into closed beta, hopefully get it fixed, and then they were like, no. And that also close to the launch of their own streaming platform. Not to mention that Google still hasn't put out anything on Stadia that is, from their studios. So, yeah.
I did recently find out that they were able to, I think this happened a while back, but they got the former studio head of Santa Monica Studio to come over at Stadia. So she's leading a studio there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I came across, I think it happened a while back, but it's something that I read the other day. I'm like, wow, okay, that's smart of Stadia.
So they're still willing to invest in Stadia, but they're not showing it. Or at least they're not pushing it hard enough to make you feel like they still care. All right, okay. Hey, as long as they care, I'm fine with it. Hopefully Stadia gets better. It's been way too quiet.
Yeah.
And also the fact that the new Chromecast that's coming out does not support Stadia out of the gate, but through an update or through sideloading if you're brave enough. That's also kind of weird. But then again, the new Pixel phones that came out come with 3 months of Stadia. So what is it? Are you supporting it? Or are you not supporting it? I don't know what's going on there. It's really weird. What is not weird, and which is going to be our last article of the day, Microsoft is looking into getting xCloud working through browsers on iOS.
I saw that.
So basically the same thing that Luna is going to do for Amazon, Microsoft is looking into a similar solution to that. If they do that, that's great. I will be one of the first to try it out because, I'm a big fan of streaming your games.
I know.
Shoutouts, GeForce Now. Please get your act together. Please get your act together, NVIDIA. GeForce Now is one of the best things to ever happen to gaming, and it's suffering because developers are really have their knickers in a twist, to say it in a very British way. But if xCloud can work also on iOS, that would be great. That means you're not alienating like a huge player base. So yeah, let's see how that goes. Outside of that, I'm curious to see how Luna goes, but since Luna is only coming out in the US, we don't really have a lot of we don't have a way to cover it as of now.
We can follow online questions, but
yeah, I mean, we can follow online and see how other people respond to it and see like what the general vibe is about it. So
yeah.
And also they're promising a lot of stuff that Stadia promised but has yet to deliver. So let's see if they're able to deliver on day one.
Yeah.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we will be going into a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be doing what we've been playing.
Alrighty, everybody. Welcome back to our second segment. What have you been playing? What have you been playing, Maximilian?
Well, not a lot. There's a few things that I've been playing. Let's just get to the nitty gritty. I've been playing Spider-Man again on my PlayStation 4.
Spidey!
But with a little bit of a caveat, because right now I'm not at my own place, so I don't have access to my PlayStation 4 physically. But as it have it, I have my old PlayStation Vita, and I enabled my PlayStation 4 to be able to do remote play. Um, and it's been an interesting journey, to say the least, because the Wi-Fi at where I'm staying is not so great, so it tends to knock out, especially because because the Vita only supports 2.5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. So if you're a little bit far, the connection keeps dropping. I mean, I can play it on my smartphone, but the problem is I didn't bring my controller, and the controls on the smartphone touchscreen are absolute garbage, to say the least.
I actually know somebody that played Red Dead Redemption online on his smartphone through remote play. I never understood why he did it.
No controller, just on the...
Yeah, he did it to complete some tasks to get some money and stuff like that. But I never understood why he put himself through that. But,
Wow.
That's
Respect.
just... Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been playing that. Honestly, the Vita is also not the ideal way to play, but it's at least better than complete touch. Because, if you've played Spider-Man on PlayStation 4, if you want to swing through the city, you have to use R2. And R2 is the back plate, like the upper right corner of it. And your placement always shifts. So sometimes I'll be swinging around. If my finger slips a little bit, he suddenly stops swinging and drops down.
Oh, no.
Which is really annoying. Also real annoying is I haven't played this game in a really long time. So there are some moves that I've kind of forgotten. And it also doesn't help that the controls don't really accommodate for it. I can't change the way the back panel is set up, so I can't have the R2 and L2 be lower on the back panel, because the lower half of the back panel is L3 and R3, which is really annoying. So yeah, I've been struggling through that, and I also found out that missions that I already did in the past, I had to do them again, because I was doing a mission like, wait, that I've been through this before. Oh no, it's the sneak mission with Mary Jane. The one where I died a lot. I finally got through it. I don't know how. I finally got through that part, and I'm so happy, because I could not handle that anymore. And I'm afraid that if I'm gonna finish this game, I'm gonna have to finish it on my console, or I'll have to bring my controller, because if I have to do all that I just did, even the side missions are a challenge now because of it. Because I do not remember how to dodge. So I use the jump button instead and zip, which is also annoying because you have to use L2, R2 to zip. So yeah, it's been interesting. I've been doing some side missions. I'm trying to do all the side missions before I have to do the next main storyline mission. I'm at 67% of the game story, so I'm actually pretty far along. I've passed the halfway point at least.
I've been wanting to play Spider-Man for a while now, but I'm just holding out until the PS5 version comes out so I can just play that one.
So you're going to get the Miles Morales Ultimate Edition?
I think I am, because I just wanted to play
That's the
Spider-Man.
only way to play the remastered version.
I know, and I just really want to play Spider-Man, but I thought, like, you know what? I might as well just wait until the PS5 comes out, and I'll just buy the remastered version, and I'm going to pay $80. Man, I don't mind. I've committed.
80 euros. My goodness. All right. Yeah, so I've been playing that. I've also, as I said before in the news segment, I played a little bit of the Pikmin 3 demo, and it plays pretty smoothly. The whole thing with Pikmin 3 on the Wii U was that you can use the touchscreen to aim where you toss Pikmin, and also helps you to do some multitasking because you have 3 characters that you can control in that game. The multitasking is a little bit more of a challenge because you don't have the touchscreen to do it with. So you have to do it through button prompts, or buttons. Not button prompts. It's not quick times. So that was a little bit of a challenge. Also, a little bit of a challenge was aiming where you toss the Pikmin. Luckily, they added a lock-on feature, which I think the Wii U version kind of had, but you never used it because it was way easier to use the stylus and tap where you want to toss Pikmin, because that's way more precise. But since you lose the precision, you have to rely on, the control sticks. The lock-on is a bit of a blessing in that regard. I've played to the demo twice because the demo only goes up to the first boss of the game, and that's it. And it doesn't matter how long you take over it because the game works in-game days. The first time I played through it, I did it in 5 days. The second time I played through it, because I've played through it the first time, I was able to do it in 3 days, and in both cases it said thank you for playing the demo. First, I thought, maybe the limit is 5 days, but it's specifically that boss battle. So, yeah, game still looks pretty. Runs like a dream on Switch. And as I said before, it has co-op, because the previous version of this game did not have co-op. From the get-go, you can do co-op, and the co-op is jump in, jump out. So you can start co-op whenever you want or stop it whenever you want. But it is couch co-op, which is a little bit unfortunate. I kind of hoped that they were going to do online co-op, but I get it. If you have kids and you want to share the love of Pikmin with them, this is a great way to start. You don't need to play the previous 2 games, because even though there are references to the previous 2 games, you don't need to know about the 2 games to enjoy Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Outside of that, I have been playing Genshin Impact, the Breath of the Wild clone on the PlayStation 4.
I recently found out that it's free to play. I didn't actually know that.
It's free to play, yeah, because it's a Chinese mobile developer, and their previous game, Honkai Impact 3rd, was also free to play. So I'm not surprised that this is also free to play. I am surprised that they brought out a console version, and there's a version coming out on Switch later. So I've been playing it for a while now, and yeah, that's the extent to what I kind of am willing to say. I've been playing it, and honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm surprised that I'm still playing Genshin Impact, because the mechanics that they were inspired by Breath of the Wild kind of feel tacked on, almost as if it was an afterthought. The open world is fine, but it is a bit more restrictive because it's trying to funnel you through a story. You also have side quests that you can do and daily quests that you can do, because of course you can, because it's basically a mobile game. It's also out on smartphones. Tried it out on smartphone. Stick to the PlayStation 4 and PC, because the controls are better. The controls are better, but they're also not great on PlayStation 4, because you can tell that they were meant for mobile, and they mapped it in a way that is slightly off. I don't know how to explain it. The only way that I can say is if you've played Genshin Impact on your PlayStation 4 or on your PC with a controller, you'll understand what I mean. And as far as I can tell, because I haven't checked it out yet, I don't think you can remap the controls. If you can, let me know on our Instagram or on our Twitter, which is @game_rivals_, or at me @Maximilian. Let me know because I have absolutely no idea. It is a surprisingly pretty game, which is kind of saying a lot and not, because their previous game also looked really good, and that was a mobile game. Like, that was a mobile only game. So they have the pedigree and they have the talent for the artwork and stuff like that. But stuff like cutscenes, the cutscenes are all voiced, which is cool. You can choose Japanese or English VO, but in most cases, the lip flaps do not match at all. So you're watching this cutscene and they're talking, and the lip flaps are doing something completely different.
Almost like the Japanese mode of Ghost of Tsushima.
I haven't seen that a lot of the Japanese VO on Ghost of Tsushima, so I'm gonna have to take your word for it. But yeah, I think no. You know what? No, I'm pretty sure it's actually worse than that because there are some. I have footage of that. I may post it to our YouTube channel, some highlights. But there are actual scenes where the lip flaps move a bit and then stop.
Oh, no.
Entirely, and they're still talking.
Oh my
they're still talking. That's so bad. Oh no, it's so horrible. Story is interesting, kinda. I'm not really following it because they have a character in there called Paimon, and if you hated Fi or Navi from Ocarina of Time or Skyward Sword, respectively, I'm gonna say this: Paimon is like 100 times worse. She also talks, and in English, she refers to herself in the third person.
Oh my god!
And in Japanese, she has that really high-pitched baby voice.
You don't have to impersonate it.
I'm not gonna impersonate it, but let me say this: anybody who talks crap about Navi, Paimon is way worse.
Okay.
Way absolute worse. Not fun. That. Luckily, only in the early game and in certain dialogues in the game that you'll hear her. Outside of that, you can skip most of the dialogue anyway, or you can turn off voice acting. I think you can turn off voice acting entirely, so that you don't have to hear Aaron Sisson blabbing. Outside of that, it's interesting. I would say give it a go if that is something that interests you. It's free to play. There are a lot of people that are playing it and are actually enjoying it, which also surprises me. So there must be something good about the game outside of the aesthetics and the quote-unquote breath of the wildness about it. So yeah, that's what I've been playing.
Nice.
What have you been playing, SeanTemplar?
I started playing the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order again. The funny thing is I bought the game last year. And then I played it for a couple of hours, and then I gave it to Robin the day that the lockdown in the Netherlands started. And I didn't see my game for a while, and then he gave it back to me a while back, and I was playing other stuff like Ghost of Tsushima and stuff like that. So eventually I thought like, hey, I want to play Star Wars. So I had to relearn all the controls again because it's been months since I played it.
Yeah.
But there was one thing that annoyed the hell out of me. That game is, I don't know if it's deliberate or not, but they're giving you a lot of freedom in the game, but they're not giving you a lot of directions in the game and where to go. They're like, here's the map, and you can press the map at any time to see where you want to go. But I don't like the way the map is built up because it's like this holographic stacked map. So it's sometimes really hard to see where you are or where you need to go. There's no
stacked holographic map.
Yeah, I'll show you. It's a bit confusing.
It kind of reminds me of Metroid Prime's map because that's also stacked and holographic.
Yeah, so it's really annoying because there's no clear directions when you're playing the game, like where you need to go. It's not like a visual indication or anything. In some games, there's like, if you, for a long time, you don't know where to go, they'll just give you a hint where to go. And here, that's not. I spent maybe like an hour just trying to figure out how to get to my ship because that's where the level ended. and it's really annoying because it takes me out of the action because I just want to finish or get through this game. So that's something that's really turning me off. And also what I started to notice is that the game, from a performance-wise, it's hitching a lot. So I have it on 4K mode instead of on 60 FPS mode. And so it started to stutter a lot and freeze up at some points. And I'm like, hey, this is strange. I didn't have this issue when I played it in November. And then I switched to 1080p 60 mode, which was a strange switch because then everything is buttery smooth all of a sudden. But even there, the game is stuttering at some point. So it doesn't really encourage me to play on. I still want to know how the game finishes, so I'll try to get in some time. But, I'm kind of struggling with it.
Maybe get it on EA Play and do it through that.
I was thinking about that, yeah, because then I at least can play it smoothly on the PC and I have an Xbox One controller, so I can use that. So yeah, basically that. I mean, the game feels like Uncharted. It looks beautiful. It's nice to wield the lightsaber and to use all those force tricks. Combat is also pretty challenging because it has a bit of that Dark Souls-y combat, which it's pretty cool. But yeah, I just have to get my time through it. I saw that Rogue Company is finally available, so I downloaded that and I played it for a bit. It's
That's right.
It's an okay game. It's not really my cup of tea. I've tried a couple of matches.
I played I played it in closed beta on Switch. I got a code for that back right before it came out, and then when it wasn't like on Switch. It's also not bad. Like I know what you mean. Like it's not a bad game.
Yeah.
It's
There's potential to get it into a really good place, but for now it feels a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. It's I don't like. I'm used to Call of Duty aiming now because I play Call of Duty on the PlayStation, and that's really. I have my sensitivity on high, and when I put sensitivity on high here, it becomes uncontrollable for me. So I tried that. And besides that, is there anything else I played on my PlayStation? I know that the Call of Duty beta is supposed to be this weekend. I'm still waiting to be able to download it. There's also going to be
that's been a really weird.
Yeah, and there's also going to be another beta, I think either next week or the week after for everyone, so PC and Xbox, because now it's only been exclusive for PlayStation.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, besides that, I have put hours and hours into Among Us this week. It is just crazy. I mean, that game came out of nowhere. And
you know what the funny part is? That game came out like 2 years ago.
I know. I mean, the funny thing is the developers were going to make a sequel, and then they said, no, we're going to cancel the sequel or put it on hold for now, and we're going to focus on the first game and really make that well. I'm playing it on mobile. You can get it on PC. I think it's like $5 or something, and I'm thinking about getting it on PC because it plays a lot easier now. But I mean, holy crap, that game is so. I've played it for in a couple of hours, maybe every night. And what we do is we jump into a Discord, and then we're just muting when we're playing, and then when somebody gets reports about it or something, we start talking. But I have had moments where people are just screaming at each other. I've had so much laughs that my jaws just start to hurt. And the funny thing is like the second day we were playing, I was the imposter for I think 4 times in a row. Whoa. And that's never happened. And then what has that caused now that nobody trusts me? So now every game it's like, yeah, he's it's SeanTemplar. He's the imposter. And I'm like, no, give me a chance to defend myself. No, it's you. Bye, man. Boop, and they vote me out. Yeah, I mean, I have nasty tactics as well. I mean, what I'll do is I'll kill somebody. What I did was I killed somebody. And then I just did something. I just went away and did some other tasks or faked some tasks. And then somebody would report the body. And then they would ask, oh, what happened? And then people would talk and blah, 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 blah. And then I would say like, yeah, I don't know. But what I thought was suspicious was that that person walked from there and there and the body is there. So it's kind of strange. So maybe it's a self-report or whatever. And then the person's like, no, that's not possible. Like, yeah, I mean, you don't have you can't, I don't have a really good defense. So I think it's you. And then I just convinced everybody else. And then we just outvoted that person. So I got like 2 kills in one go. And then it happened a couple of times. And we usually play with 2 imposters because we get like a group of either 10 or 8 people, and it's just amazing. I play with some people. Some people are just ruthless. They won't even listen. They're like, no, you're in. Okay, bye, boop, and they vote you out. I played with other people, and I don't know why. It was the first time I was playing with them, and they were playing so civilized, so calm, and they had they did it through Zoom, and then they would turn their webcams on as well when there was a report. So that makes it even more difficult because you have to keep a poker face.
Oh, now you have to act.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was really hard because there were some moments that I was the imposter and like, oh, I have to make sure that I don't just laugh or look away or say something strange,
Maybe a tactic when you're doing that is wearing sunglasses, like the reflective ones, so they don't see the eyes.
That's a good one. I think I'll do that, yeah. Because, I mean, oh, man, I love this. It is so intense. It is so chaotic. It is, I love it.
All right. I mean, I'm going to be joining in hopefully sometime soon. Again, it's a little bit difficult for me to do stuff like that right now. But yeah, I mean, I played a match of Among Us, but the way it happened for me was I found out about Among Us because I was seeing it pop up in my YouTube feed like crazy, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna check out these videos. I'm just gonna check out what this game is. So I downloaded it, and I was so confused about what was supposed to happen.
For some
because
people,
the game itself does not really explain itself well or at all.
There's no tutorial. No, it has a little bit of a learning curve.
Yeah. So the first time I played it, I wasn't the imposter. I wasn't the imposter, or I was the imposter. I don't remember. I was not the imposter. But we did get the imposter on the first try.
Yeah,
so that was really short.
I've had moments in which I just killed people, and then they just send me a message while I'm playing, and they send me a message, and they just shout at me, or they scream or curse at me, and they say like, "I knew it was you! I knew it was you!" And then they're like my first kill, and then there's this guy I play Call of Duty with, and the game is called Repelsteeltje. I killed him so many times that now he has this personal grudge / vendetta against me. So every time he's the imposter, he kills me first, or when he's when I'm a crewmate or whatever, he just always tries to vote me off as first because he's like, no, you killed me so many times, I don't trust you. You're the imposter. So I've created this really tricky situation, and I'm just trying to play the game, but I put myself in a tough spot with that.
Yeah. Oh, that's the way it is, right?
Yeah. I mean, the funny part is with some things you can hear it in people's voice. So with one, we were playing with somebody, and I could hear in that person's voice that the person was laughing, or it was really hard for that person to contain their laugh. And I was like, "You're really keeping yourself together, but I think you're about to just burst out and laugh." And she said, "No," and then she just started to laugh out loud, and then we knew, like, yeah, it's you. Get out. Oh man, I love it. I saw that some people are playing a hide and seek variant of the game. I haven't tried that yet, but there's apparently something like that in there as well. I'm really curious to see where the game will go, because it's taking the industry by surprise and by storm, and it's really cool. I mean,
and also on the heels of season 2 of Fall Guys.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday this weekend is the Formula One Grand Prix at the Nürburgring in Germany. Yesterday during first practice, they didn't do it because it was so misty. So somebody sends me a picture of the McLaren team on Twitter post. So the FP1 hasn't started. Who's up for a game of Among Us? And you just see a character of Among Us, and it's called McLaren. He's in an orange suit. And then the Williams team responds, says, "Yo, what's your code?" I mean, how funny is that? I mean, I saw that, and it just cracked me up.
Oh, that's awesome. I hope they actually played.
I hope so, too. I mean, how cool would it be to have all those Formula One teams just play together? That would be fun.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah. I think we've covered it all with that, right?
Yep.
Do
the honors.
I will try to do the honors. So as always, thank you very much for listening to this episode of Game Rivals. We really appreciate it. You can follow us on a range of outlets. First and foremost, the podcast, of course, which is our baby. You can listen to the podcast on all major platforms: Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Overcast, Google Podcast. You can just listen to it there. Don't forget to leave us your ratings and your opinions. We're always looking for ways to improve the podcast. We're also available on Twitter at game_rivals_. You can reach out to Maximilian, who is at Maximilian. You can reach out to us on Instagram and also follow us on Instagram. We're going to be doing a lot more with Instagram in the coming weeks and months. And we have a YouTube channel. We're going to start doing soon is we're going to start posting the older episodes we've already recorded. So we're going to upload those to YouTube, and we will also work our way towards the newer episodes. We'll also post that, so you have a way to look at that. We don't have webcams set up yet because of the whole situation in the world. The dying breed of webcams have skyrocketed in price, and webcams have become expensive again and also hard to find. So for now, we have a pretty cool creative solution that we have in place, so you can at least listen and also see some cool things while you're listening. We're also going to do something cool. We're going to do one of our first collaborations. I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm just going to tease about it. But we're going to do a collaboration soon, and we're really.
I'm personally really excited about this one.
Even I am excited, and I normally would not be. At least people would not expect me to get excited for this one. So keep an eye out on mainly, I think, Instagram, because we will slowly reveal what's going to happen there. And I think, just from the bottom of our hearts again, thank you to everyone in our little Game Rivals family or community for supporting us all these times and just sticking with us and being with us. We really appreciate it. And here's to the future and making our family even bigger.
Yes, thank you, SeanTemplar. I also once again want to say thank you guys. Thank you for the listens. Thank you for the follows. Continue to share. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast, Google Play, or wherever you can give a 5-star rating. It helps lift up the podcast as well. Follow us on Instagram. That also you can catch up with us there very easily. Also follow us on Twitter, as SeanTemplar said. And once again, just thank you guys for being such great fellow rivals. So
this is the part where we get booed off the stage. So I'll just say I have been and always will be SeanTemplar.
And I have been and always be Maximilian X.
And we'll catch you on the next one.
See ya.